If I took away your job title, your relationship status, or your role as a mother, who would you be? Women, especially Black women, are often socialized to define themselves by their service to others. But your worth is not in what you do, it's in who you are. Today's episode is a deep dive into identity, caregiving, socialization, and breaking free from hyper-independence and self-sacrificing tendencies. I'm talking to Mia Garrett, clinical social worker and therapist, on how to reclaim your identity. I'm Zanetta Tunique Empower, and welcome to the Zanetta Show, where we empower women to stop waiting and start living the life that they want right now. From childhood, girls are taught that their value is in how well they take care of others, whether it's family, friends, or the workplace. And many Black women are meant to be strong and support others, but often leads to self-sacrificing tendencies. And that results in overfunctioning in relationships and struggling to set boundaries. So, Mia, as we kick off today's conversation, we'd love to have your thoughts on this and how are women socialized from childhood? Because this seems to be the root of our issue. We're giving kids baby dolls. How does this affect us growing up?
Yeah. And not just baby dolls, Annetta. It's your little brother or your little sister. I'm sorry. Somebody just walked in my into the door. What's up, babe? I'm like right in the middle of something.
Because we are caregivers and we have responsibilities, and that is a part of our identity, right? Being a mom and connecting with children, being a leader at the workplace. But oftentimes, when do we have the opportunity to take off those hats, right? And so,
Right.
when we're talking about how those things are ingrained in us, what do you see in your experience?
So what I'm seeing is overperformance or a performative nature, period, in general.
There's a level of excellence that is imparted on Black women. I'm a Black woman, so I can't speak on being anything else. And there's always a standard that's set and the bar is really high. Sometimes the bar is unreachable, right? There's a level of perfection, as you mentioned, that is expected to do everything right, to speak right, to have the best grades, to be a valedictorian and just anchor others around you. But
Hmm.
oftentimes we don't have an anchor for ourselves. And it's rooted in how
Right.
well we're doing the things instead
Right.
of the enjoyment of participating or just being, right?
And to speak on the pleasure of Black women or seeking pleasure at all is not something that we are ever really asked about, even in our childhood, right? Like you said, we're always rooted in and judged and evaluated based upon how well we are performing in our household, in school, in sports, in our relationships. And so we're taught at a very young age by the way that people respond to us when we're doing well, right? You cooked dinner tonight. Great job. You're such an awesome cook. You got all A's in school while also managing basketball practices, while also making sure that you're there every day when your younger siblings get home and making them snacks. Great job. But when you choose to do things for yourself, usually you're going to enter into conflict. And so when we're young, this is how we're socialized by every engagement or interaction that we have with our family members. When we choose ourselves, there's like erupts into conflict. When we choose them, when we are sacrificial, then we're praised. And so, of course, when we become women, we are already well trained to serve.
Let's talk about the dynamic of who needs me
Mm.
versus what do I need?
Mm-hmm.
Because I have had to really dig into that on my own,
Yeah.
especially over the last year with a major career shift going from a VP level executive to going headfirst into entrepreneurship, which really wasn't on my time. I was
Yeah.
very, very depressed throughout those months and I didn't know it. You just don't know, right? Because
Right.
you have to still show up for everyone. You have to cry in
Absolutely.
the corner if you even do that and go
Yeah.
back into the game, go back
Yeah.
into mothering, parenting, wife responsibilities, and just figure it out.
Yes.
And with that comes a lot of burden that you eventually
Mm-hmm.
carry if you don't circle back to it and peel back those layers.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would you recommend for women that are going through a career shift or a relationship shift? We
Mm-hmm.
are in our late 30s, honey,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of women are facing big transitions, whether they're
Yeah.
caregivers and taking care of their elders. What would you recommend to women that are, facing all of the things right now and may
Yeah.
need support in learning how to put some of their hats down?
Yeah. I think the greatest thing that I would recommend is to learn how to connect with your body. One of the things that we lose over our socialization as caregivers and holding relationships on our backs is the connection to our own needs. Like you said, it you be when you go from transitioning from one stage to the next, the only thing you think about is how am I going to maintain all of my responsibilities. And so we never learn how to make space for our feelings, our and what's happening in our bodies. And so learning how to ground yourself, learning mind muscle connection, which we reserved for working out and fitness, but my muscle connection is really important to identify emotions because emotions are physical. After you've identified that you're having emotions or a physiological experience, ask yourself what you need. When's the last time you did that, right? When's the last time you just kind of checked in with yourself in what do I need right now? One of the things that's been coming up for me a lot in this sort of tumultuous era in our country is overstimulation. A lot of times we're not angry, we're not irritable, we're actually overstimulated. And something that will help is just to go outside and to get into nature and to ground ourselves in the present moment instead of the present moment where the kids are making their requests, partners are making requests, jobs are making requests, your to-do list is on your mind, and to remove yourself, learning how to remove yourself from all of the stimulus of daily life as whatever hat you're wearing, even if you don't have children, friend, sister, daughter, all of the hats. Sometimes getting in the present moment or connecting with something that's in your present can help to alleviate some of the overstimulation that can come from everyone asking you for things.
And I would also further that, especially grounding. I never knew what grounding was when I was a kid, but I
Yeah.
definitely remember being the no shoes on. I'm going outside, touch grass,
Yeah.
wiggle your toes,
Mm,
and if you will, this is not a
yes.
prop and unplanned, but
Yes.
honey,
Yes.
I don't even use a dropper anymore. I just take the top off.
You just pour it
I'm not
in.
about to drop this 30 times.
Right. Just give me a tablespoon.
I need a little more. So between ashwagandha and lion's mane, it takes some of that frazzle that you
Yeah.
feel off,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
you can just kind of step back
Hmm.
and really just ask yourself, what is going on right now? And like you said,
Right.
that self check, and to because I have anxious tendencies too, and I can
Yeah.
say, get back in, get back in here. You're
Right.
out there.
Right.
Come on back.
Come on back. Yes. To self, to center. Yes. Yes. You made such a good point of when we were younger, we would just go outside. No, we wouldn't care about hardly anything. Put your shoes on correctly, please. It's something that I literally said yesterday to my 8-year-old. Just put them all the way on and then you can go and play. But we missed out, especially in our teenage years when the responsibility was becoming heavier and our mothers were expecting for us to cook, clean, take care of siblings. We detached ourselves from play. And I think that play is such an essential tool for not only reconnecting with our inner selves, our inner child, our physical bodies, but also with others in a non confrontational way where they're not necessarily there's no transaction that's happening. You're not asking me for something. I'm not here to respond to your needs. I'm just here to play with you. Tag, you're it. Hide and go seek. Leave me alone. Go over there and count. I'm going to go over here. Like, it's okay to be silly with your peers, right? It's okay to have a day where you're going outside and playing kickball or soccer or basketball. A lot of times we forget to check in with the 8-year-old that lives inside of us or the 10-year-old that lives inside of us and see what she wants to do for the day or for the next hour. We can give her a little bit of time in order to connect with a part of us that was lost in our socialization, in this idea that Black women are supposed to carry the culture on our backs, that we're supposed to be responsible and responsive in any given moment, which is really annoying. I enjoy my roles. I really do. I really enjoy being a mother. I enjoy being a wife. I enjoy being a sister and a daughter. But I also get tired and I also get burnt out in those roles. And when we get tired and burnt out in those roles, where do we turn? Usually we sublimate. No, not sublimate. That's not the right word. Medicate, detach, distract, TV, wine.
Wine, wait, pause on the wine part because some of y'all may not know, but alcohol is not my friend. So that's that's not a secret, but my personal journey with alcohol is also
Yeah.
one where it illuminated all these areas where you're like, you remember watching Scandal and he
Mm-hmm.
comes home with a giant ass glass of wine.
Yes.
That doesn't help, girlfriend.
It does not.
It does not
It just
help.
makes you sleepy for the next day.
You still wake up to those problems and your
Absolutely.
stomach is fried
Mm-hmm.
or it takes away from your physical vitality. There is a large portion of Black women who do self-medicate with alcohol, and
Absolutely.
wine seems to be safe, and we're hiding behind alcohol, and that is something that I'll explore in another episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so glad that you brought that up because it is an increasing statistic amongst Black women using that to cope.
Yes, an escape. But I also want to bring up that I watched my mother cope with wine, and I watched my aunts, and I watched her friends. Even being a very young girl, I can see the burden, the emotional burden of having to respond to everyone's needs on the women around me. And then they have their wine and their mood changes. They're a lot more jovial and giggly, and but also a lot meaner. That comes with it as well because their patience is gone because the inhibitions are gone too. And so you're right, it doesn't solve the problem at all. It does not solve the problem, but I think it's really important for us to identify that not only is everywhere. You're saying scandal. I cannot turn on media without seeing a woman in particular with a big glass of wine as either her wind down or her engage how she engages with her friends or socially. It is everywhere. And I know during dry January, it made me struggle to see people having fun with their glasses of wine because I'm like, I'm not having wine. I feel amazing, but everywhere I look, people are having a great time with it. Where's the lie? Because it's somewhere.
Let me tell you, I felt the urge to buy wine literally yesterday.
Yeah.
Fought like
Yes.
knuckle up. I was almost there because I just, like you said, it's an escape mechanism. Like,
Yes.
Calgon, take me away. I'm sure my
Yes.
needs. But for real, I don't want to do all of this stuff, right? And
Right.
so what that also I also want to speak a little bit on like hyper independence because you
Yes.
discussed how, you're wearing all the hats, you have a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
And with the perfectionism mentality that we're often raised in, we
Yeah.
get into a space where it's like, if I want it done right, if it's going to be done right, I have to do it. And
Absolutely.
so this leads to isolation and exhaustion,
Mm-hmm.
and would love to
Mm-hmm.
have your thoughts on how women who are experiencing this type of hyper independence can
Yeah.
combat that and live a healthier life when it comes to asking for help.
Yes.
It's okay, sis. You know,
Yes.
community also is a
Yes.
factor, and I'll let you answer that. But a thought just came to mind when I had my
Yeah.
daughter. I had friends come over and drop off food and
Yes.
clean up my house, and I don't know if people are still doing that because my baby is big.
Yeah.
But that type of standing in is really
Mm-hmm.
important for women, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why sisterhood is really, really important. But I digress. I'm gonna let the expert talk.
Well, I think that you make a really good point because what happens during when you recognize that you are overextending yourself on a regular basis. I was going to say daily, but it's more than daily. It's like every minute somebody calls my name at least 10 to 30 seconds. I'm not going to say who, but it's one of my children. And what happens is because we're so overstimulated by other people's needs and requests, we will turn away, we will isolate, we will become callous and apathetic, and it does ruin our opportunity to connect. And as humans, we absolutely need each other. And so we can end up on the other side of the spectrum where we are in hyper independence and we not necessarily don't know how to ask for help, but we know what it comes with. It comes with a conversation, it comes with
Oh yeah,
perhaps
sure.
disappointment, a lecture. Oh my goodness. Indeed. Because how often have we reached out for assistance and the person is like, gives some version of, why do you need help? You are fully capable of doing all of these things. And it's like, well, I don't want to have to explain myself. I would like for you to meet this need of mine because how about I always meet your needs? And I just want you to show up for me, which is also transactional and needs work. Okay, but the question is, how do you dismantle hyper independence, right? I would say first is awareness. How does it make you feel when you are connected with others? And to respond to those feelings with softness and soothing, especially internal dialogue. The internal dialogue could sound something like, see, that's why I never ask anyone for help. What it can adjust to is, it's okay. That made me feel, it made me feel disappointed that they would respond to me that way, but I'm not going to stop because I still need their help, and that's okay too. I'm going to circle back when I feel better. I'm going to circle back when my emotions are not as high. The other part is finding your village or your tribe of people that are safe spaces for you to say the things that you need to say. Because asking for help is not going to be easy. Even connecting with others is not going to be easy because the normal requests that happen in relationships, the normal conflict that happens in relationships. Someone says, hey girl, just wanted to invite you to a party next Saturday. I'm sorry for the late notice. And all of a sudden, all of this irritation and emotion comes up, but it has nothing to do with that particular person or that friend. And so understanding that normal requests can be very deeply triggering for the little girl inside of you that was made to cook dinner every night and was parentified and adultified before she was cognitively ready for those roles. And so soothing her, talking to her, girl, it is okay. Nobody's here to get you. No one's asking too much of you in this moment. If you're not ready to answer, say that.
Yep.
If it's a yes, say that.
Or
If
no.
it's a no, say that.
Or
Exactly.
no. And let
Exactly.
it be a sentence,
Let
right?
it be the sentence.
I don't think I'm maybe no.
I'm not
It
available.
doesn't resonate with my energy right now.
Exactly. I'll catch the next one. And it's okay. And when you find your tribe or your village that is your safe space, then there's understanding that
Mhm.
comes from that. There is acknowledgement. Oh girl, I knew it was last minute anyway. No hard feelings. And the more you are able to there's all this research around discord and healing equals depth and intimacy. And so allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to engage the hard feelings, to repair anything that's broken in that process actually creates a deeper, more intimate, safer environment inside of your relationships.
I love that. And just to underline how important community is, how much sisterhood means
Yeah,
to individuals, it allows for you to shift from I don't need anyone to I deserve support and community. I was
absolutely.
actually invited to a professional event from our mutual friend yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just really struggling to transition from my work day to picking up my kid to
Mm-hmm.
getting back into work mode. And like, it
Yeah,
was so overwhelming. I fell
yeah,
asleep. Like, I literally fell asleep. Like, my
yeah.
brain was like, girl, we not doing this.
Body shut down.
Not doing that.
There's no more in the cup. The cup is empty.
So I woke up, I like scrambled to get dressed, and I
Wow.
had arranged for her to get a ride to practice, but I was too
Yeah.
late. Like everything was just bottlenecked. So I called my friend. I'm like, I don't know what time I'm coming to the event.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And I hesitated on even giving that remark. Why? Because I had enough time. I was supposed to show up.
Good.
Like my identities outside of my who I am, that
Yes.
person shows
Yes.
up, is on time, is ready to
Yes.
engage, and I just
Yes.
couldn't be that. And
Mm-hmm.
so again, I kind of hesitated on that conversation. She said, okay. I'm like, girl, you get me. And then I called her, I text her, I'm like, my ETA is just too late. And she said
Yeah.
it's totally fine.
It's
And so,
okay.
but why would that give anyone anxiety around not being able to fully show up from what we talked about? Perfectionism.
Yes.
Like, it's okay,
Yes.
it's fine.
Yes. And
There'll
in
be
the
other opportunities.
past, there was conflict. Imagine, just think back to the last time you told your mom, I cannot do something. I can't be here for that. Fill in the blank here. You probably weren't 16. It was probably the other day. Moms and mother wounds is a completely different episode, right? And how we are shaped by the relationship with our mothers. But those expectations are in the cosmos. And when they're not met, there is a lot of consequences. And so we bring that into our relationship through expectation that "Ugh, I'm about to get in trouble. I'm about to get in trouble."
I'm like, I was one of those kids where I was like, you can't whoop me. But I had to sit with that for a minute because I was like, would I get in trouble? Would my friend not
Right.
invite me anymore? Am I a bad friend because I'm not,
Right.
doing that? That was
Right.
a thought. I won't hold you up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that reflection is very real. And so now that we have walked through some of the ways in which women take on this identity, how do you get back into reclaiming who you are?
Mhm.
And so separating who you are from what you do is just my theme right now. Like,
Yes.
I have a role at a nonprofit organization. We have a new team, and
Yeah.
they were like, let's do intros. I hate
Oh,
intros.
I hate
You
intros
could
too.
literally just Google me when we're done and
Yes.
go by whatever comes up. Like, literally just
Yes.
whatever comes up, and then you
Yes.
decide how you want to engage with me
Engage
after
with that
that.
information. Absolutely.
Because people start these conversations with, well, I did this, did that.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Mm-hmm.
been here, been there. I've gotten this
Mm-hmm.
award. I've gotten all these external validations, and
Right.
I'm just so happy to be here.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm the marketing director, and thank you. I just don't want to participate in that
Yeah.
because if I'm introducing myself, I am not work. We don't even have time for me to go through the introduction if we really want to be real.
The
And
resume.
we
Yes.
don't even want to do
Yes.
that.
Yes. Because that's not really what you're asking.
It's not.
Right.
It's
Right.
not. And so, as I alluded to earlier, just the departure from over identifying through work, as a previous perhaps corporate climber, right? You go to college and you have goals, especially people who work in the business space, and you go from a entry level mid-career executive and being a VP level worker at 35 and 36 was a big check mark on my career box for me. But when that was taken away, my I was like, wait a minute, am I a
Yeah.
fraud? Am I really not this person? And
Right.
those types of thoughts really plague, I believe, Black women more than anyone else because imposter syndrome is so real. And so that
Absolutely.
process for me was really around a lot of journaling. And there was a prompt that
Yeah.
I used that said, if I wasn't at this job, what brings me joy? Your
Yeah.
work sometimes takes away so much from you. It
Yeah.
just turned me into a raisin. I didn't even know
Yes.
that. Like, I
Yes.
love raisins. It's no raisin shade, but
But grapes are better.
I'm an organic grape, baby. And so that reflection was just really, really important. And it brought me back to the core of what do I want to do? And your work and your job are not the same. Your work is your gift and how you use your talents to make the world a better place. I might be a dreamer, I'm a Libra. I believe in adding a little sparkle everywhere that I go, but my work is not tied to my job. I'm born to do the work, and that's a God given journey. I'm going to do the work regardless, but my job does not define how I get to do my work. Having conversations with women like you, having conversations, period, in this forum, I discover is my work. Why? Because we need to have these conversations amongst ourselves for collective healing so we can all move forward. So allowing yourself to receive and be supported. Oh my God. Last year, I just felt like a raisin again, a raisin. Somebody reinvigorated me, and there was help offered that I didn't know existed, but I had to accept because I had to accept it.
Yeah.
But learning that it's okay to accept that help because you deserve the help and you are loved and people want to support you. So just be okay with things being offered to you without you having to do something for it. You don't need to do something for it. You can just
You
be.
came worthy of it.
How can you learn to just be? Is
Mhm.
really the question that I really hope that a lot of women learn to sit in
Yeah,
is I'm good enough just because I am who I am
absolutely.
because God says so, and
Because
then leave
God
it at that.
said, exactly. Because I'm here. I was born into it. I came here with all of my gifts. But Zanetta, you make so many good points in sharing your own experience. But one of the things that comes up for me as I'm listening to you is all of the ways that you had to first identify that you were wrapped up inside of the checking of the boxes and the climbing of the ladder. Also, you had to identify and become aware that it was draining you because a raisin ain't nothing but a dehydrated grape. We love both. Okay. But you needed someone's to pour into you, to rehydrate, to reinvigorate. But the thing about becoming a raisin is your shell is hardened. And so, in order to reopen yourself, to welcome in other people's energies, that are for you, to reinvigorate you, to rehydrate you, to pour into you, we have to one first make those identifications, right, that you are in need. But two, before you can allow other people to really pour into you, you have to take ownership of your own experiences, how you got to this space, how what actually makes you feel good and what makes you feel drained. Because I think that a part of our socialization, going back there, is that we don't know how to tell the difference. I have heard an unlimited amount of women saying, I find all of my joy in taking care of others. That's where I get all of my satisfaction from. And it's like, okay, well, that's because it's okay. But that's because you never tapped into what you want as a person, as an individual. I'm not saying throw it all away, but what makes you happy? If you were to own your own happiness, how would you pour into yourself the same way that you pour into others? How would you increase or engage joy?
Yep.
How would you engage happy?
Yep.
How would you take responsibility for low capacity? Girl, you needed a nap yesterday. How do you take responsibility for lack of capacity and your inner dialogue? I'm going to be a bad friend. She's going to think this. None of that was true. And so, but all of that will lead to that rugged individualism. And so back to how to heal it is change your inner dialogue, allow whatever you're feeling in the moment to be okay. Take responsibility for your mood and your happiness and your joy. Understand, take time to just learn what you like here and now, because even though there is an inner child, you're not that child anymore.
Yep.
What do you like as a late 30s? What?
Pageants.
Yeah, see? You said projects?
Pageants. And
Pageants.
that's exactly
Yeah.
how I got into that journey because I was contemplating it and it was my daughter. I was like, you should just do it. You
Just
love,
do it.
she said, you love pageants. You should do it. It was a very simple statement. And I said, you know
Yeah.
what? You're right. Why wouldn't I? Having something for you that's not work, that's not family, that's for you
That's just
is
for you.
so important. Whether that's
That's
working out, having a garden, or just
yes.
something for you is really, really
Yes.
important. It's
Yes.
so important.
And in the process, if I can offer, when we don't know, because everyone doesn't have an emotionally intelligent child to ask us the perfect question at the perfect time, right? Sometimes we're just trying to figure it out on our own. And when we're doing that, just throw paint at the wall and see what works. Just try the skating class. Go and get the art supplies. Just go for the run and see how you feel afterwards so that you can start to build up your toolbox or your reservoir of things that make you happy that you can reach for when you're feeling drained and ready to disconnect and say something that might affect the relationship in a negative way, in a way that you don't want it to. Build that toolbox of things. Yeah, and be open so that you can open yourself in relationships and have the capacity to receive and respond.
That. And thank you. This has been a very wonderful conversation. I really appreciate your expertise and some of the actionable things that our audience will be able to take away from this to combat hyper independence, be able to reclaim their identity, and go forth in the world in which they feel the most comfortable. To the audience, if you're listening, I know you're listening, are worthy just as you are, and not for what you do, but for who you are. Drop a comment if there's any questions that you have for Mia, any questions that you have for me, anything that resonated with you, please drop it in the comments. Thank you so much, Mia. And to everyone, thank you. Have a good day.